Well, hey, what's up? Yeah, you'll have to pardon the strange getup. I'm working on another project, um, and I needed to look creepy. So, if you're curious, it's called Little Gods. You should check it out. It's strange and creepy. Seems kind of random. You'll probably be confused, but it does go somewhere eventually. It's got a long ways to go yet. Anyway, this is another random squirrel, and this one's about well, something I guess people don't really talk about too much, I guess. And I'll be honest, I don't really know where to start this, but I want to talk about your dark side, my dark side, your dark side, our dark sides. The part inside of us that maybe we don't want to recognize consciously, but that exists. The part inside of us that perhaps enjoys violent things or horror movies or whatever. The part that maybe drives people to get into competitive martial arts or sports or race car driving or skydiving or bungee jumping, or the part of us that needs that visceral sort of adrenaline thrill, life or death kind of a fight or flight sort of response. Makes us feel alive, makes us feel, I don't know, strong, powerful, like we've won. And that's a good and a bad thing. Back in the past, in the prehistory of mankind, and even not that long ago, people were part of nature and they lived in it, and they had to hunt for their food, and some people still do. And the part inside all of us that perhaps we don't want to recognize in our modern society, that is capable of, for instance, taking a rock and bashing a cute fuzzy bunny's head in because it's in a snare, in order to end its life quickly so you can have it for dinner. I mean, yeah, that sounds horrible, and it kind of is horrible, and there's part of us inside all of us that's capable of doing something like that, but there was a time and a place when it was necessary for our survival. And that part of us, that deep down subconscious sort of reptilian hindbrain part of us, still in there, quite often does not get enough stimulation in our modern society. And maybe it leads to the problems where, people, I don't know, they have too much of a buildup of it. And I don't really know exactly where I'm going with this. I guess it's just important to recognize that we all have this dark side. And it perhaps is why our favorite stories tend to be ones that have a good villain and a good hero. A good villain and a good hero that we can identify with, that we can see ourselves in. We want the villain to be evil, but sympathetic, so that we don't have to feel bad, I guess, subconsciously about seeing ourselves in them. It perhaps makes facing our own dark aspects a little bit easier if we can see a logical reason why a person that seems likable might be pushed to such extremes, and perhaps helps us understand those own urges in ourselves that some might not be able to admit that they have. Or they're worried that I'm evil, or I'm a bad person, or there's something wrong with me because I have these urges. And in perhaps a positive way, some exposure to such things in video games where you can just be a rotten person or, be a soldier and go to war and sort of have a virtual experience of those intense experiences, is a way of safely exploring what it is about our own dark aspects that inform the person that we are, and perhaps give us these urges that we don't understand. And perhaps in some cases the subconscious guilt over having this sort of dark being inside the back of all of our minds is what drives a lot of people to have doubt and self-confidence issues. And they just don't feel that they can be okay with what they think they want, or the style they want to put out, or these, you know, why do they get excited when they shoot a whole bunch of people in the face online, or why do they enjoy horror games so much? You know, some people might think that's weird. Like, why do you want to be scared? And they're like, oh, I'm not scared. It's just really cool. Understanding in that way, in a waking sense, the darker aspects of ourselves, we can perhaps face our own nightmares when we have dreams, if that's a problem, and kind of come to grips with them that way. Having found a way to sort of identify with perhaps what scares us the most, really deep down, is what is a reflection of our darker inner selves, whatever that may be. So I think it's important to find out what scares you, and what scares you the most, and more importantly, why it scares you. You know, what it is about it that terrifies you so much, or that excites you so much. Not for the sake of feeling guilty about it, not for the sake of placing blame on yourself, but just for the very sake of recognizing it, realizing that it's not, you know, abnormal or sick, unless you are too comfortable with it and you just act upon these urges, because then that becomes unhealthy. Then you get, you know, people like murderers and rapists and, you know, all sorts of horrible things get done. Terrorists, I don't know, whatever. Well, subway squirrel derailed my train of thought there. What the hell was I going on about? Dark side, lady with coffee, hi, what's up? So yeah, I'd say explore what the dark corners of your own self that you might not be too proud of, or that might scare you, or get to know them. If you understand sometimes where they come from, and that these urges are not unusual unless one acts them out, unless one goes beyond the bounds of society, and realizing that you share a world with other sentient beings that feel pain and have feelings of fear and sadness and self-doubt, and you know, and realize that your behavior and your actions towards others have an effect on them. And one can be a happy, you know, healthy person and still enjoy their dark side. I mean, for instance, I'm in the process, like I said, of making another project, and it's kind of a horror thing. I don't know, I think it's kind of creepy, right? And if somebody had just watched that, and that was their only kind of opinion of what went on in my mind, they'd think I was some crazy son of a bitch, you know, and they'd be like, Jesus, this guy's horrible, you know. You know, and it's not that I have anything too graphic in there. It's just kind of one of those psychological things, just trying to screw with your head and tell a story at the same time. But then I also really love things like Journey and The Witcher, and where there's beautiful moments and flowers and, you know, wild horses and butterflies and frou shit like that, right? You know, you can enjoy both. You can find the face in the darkness inside of you, and realize that it's part of you. Accept it, but don't let it run your life. Don't let it be the only thing that's in there. Find places of light. Find times when you enjoy lighter things. Balance it out. I guess that's about it. My complexion doesn't handle sun too much, so I'm just going to call this one quits here, keep another short one. And I'm going to mumble off into the sky and say have a good one. Blah-de-blah. Oh, don't stop thinking.